Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking some absolutely fascinating source material and breaking it all down. Let's just dive right in because we are looking at the modern epidemic of exhaustion. And I guarantee you, the true source of your fatigue is hiding in a really unexpected place, right? We always blame our brains, our jobs, or our crazy schedules when we feel totally burnt out. But what if I told you the puppet master pulling the strings of your energy, your cravings, and even your actual thoughts isn't in your head at all? It's literally in your stomach. To understand why this matters, we kind of need to look at just how tired we really are. According to recovery expert Hideki Katano, whose amazing research we're looking at today, we are facing a massive energy crisis. Based on his tracking data, by the year 2025, a staggering 80% of people are projected to be suffering from chronic fatigue. To put that into perspective, back in 1999, that number was sitting around 60%. So in roughly a quarter of a century, we've seen this massive 20% jump in people who are just constantly exhausted and completely unable to properly recover. Now, this brilliantly illustrates the weird modern paradox we find ourselves in. You might be thinking, wait, didn't people work crazy long hours back in the 90s too? And yeah, they absolutely did. Actually, physical working hours might even be a bit shorter today thanks to modern labor laws. But here's the catch. Back in 1999, a salesperson would leave the office, write out for sales on a whiteboard, and that was it. They were unplugged. They had these mental margins, right? Time to just zone out on the train or decompress at a coffee shop. Today, we have 24/7 digital connectivity. You're managed everywhere. You're pinging back emails on your commute. So while physical labor might be down, our brains never actually go offline. We literally have zero true rest. Okay, so our brains are completely fried. But how exactly does this connect to our digestive system? Well, let's move into section 1, a changing view of guts, from a throwaway organ to a genetic powerhouse. It's crazy because the medical world's understanding of the gut has just completely transformed. Seriously, just 20 years ago, the intestines were basically viewed as a throwaway organ. Digestive surgeon Dr. C.G. Ishiguro notes that, back then, if he was operating on a colon and it was just easier to snip out an extra 10 centimeters to make the surgical connection simpler, he'd do it without a second thought. It was just viewed as a tube for waste. Then, about 10 years ago, technology advanced. Scientists started looking at genetic fragments and realized, wow, there is an entire universe of bacteria in there. And today, the gut is universally recognized as the absolute core of human health. It heavily influences, and in a lot of ways, completely controls the whole body. The actual mechanism behind this control is so cool. I mean, you've always heard eat your fiber, right? Well, it turns out it's not just to help things, pass through. It's actually about feeding your gut bacteria. When those bacteria break down dietary fiber, they create this metabolic byproduct called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. These SCFAs are just incredible. First off, they act as the direct food source for the walls of your intestines, keeping the organ itself healthy and intact. But then it gets crazier. The remaining SCFAs enter your bloodstream, and they travel everywhere. They go up to your brain, your liver, your heart, and they actively regulate how those organs function. Which brings us to a massive realization. Honestly, this is the biggest plot twist of the entire explainer. Let's hit section 2, who really controls you, the landlord and the tenants. Prepare to have your mind blown here. When we look at daily cellular operations and all the proteins being made to keep you functioning day to day, the sheer volume of genetic instructions coming from your gut bacteria completely dwarfs your own DNA. In terms of functional genetic output, our bodies are actually operating on 99% bacterial instructions and only 1% human genetic instructions. Yeah, you heard that right. So, if you're keeping score, functionally speaking, you are 99% bacteria. The crucial takeaway here is captured so perfectly in this quote from Dr. Ishiguro. He says, "We are simply the landlords providing a mansion for our bacteria tenants." Think about that. You are not the sole operator of your body. You're just the building manager. Your physical health, your energy levels, your overall vitality, they're all entirely dependent on the quality of the microbial tenants living inside your mansion. If you've got good tenants, the building thrives. If you have bad tenants, the whole building falls apart. And guys, this is exactly why you suddenly crave a donut or some greasy fast food. Let's break down this cognitive dissonance. Because you probably think you just have weak human willpower, right? Wrong. Step 1, you have a population of bacteria down there that absolutely thrive on sugar and fat. Step 2, those specific bacteria send chemical signals straight up the vagus nerve, directly to your brain. Step 3, your brain gets that signal, translates it, and you suddenly think, man, I really want sugar. You think it's your idea. It's not. It is literally your bad tenants violently banging on the pipes, demanding you order them their favorite takeout. So now that we understand just how deeply the microbiome influences our everyday choices, let's shift gears a bit. Section 3, debunking gut health myths. It's time to stop falling for the marketing hype. Here's a question I am sure you've seen the answer to in a million different commercials. Should probiotics, those good bacteria in super expensive yogurt drinks and supplements, should they reach your gut alive? Marketing campaigns are always loudly bragging about their products surviving the harsh journey to your intestines. But Dr. Ishiguro gives a really blunt verdict on this. No, absolutely not. The human body is designed to have incredibly strong stomach acid, specifically to kill incoming bacteria. It is physiologically unnatural and potentially quite bad for you for live foreign bacteria to bypass your stomach acid. The doctor notes that just randomly throwing good live bacteria drinks into the mix can actually disrupt the super fragile, totally unique balance of the bacteria already living in your gut. What works perfectly for a TV commercial might be actively throwing your inner mansion into total chaos. And that brings us to the real danger of relying on average data. Look, health marketing sells supplements based on group averages. If a supplement worked for the average person in a clinical trial, they tell you to buy it. But your gut microbiome is as unique as a fingerprint. You might be absolutely nowhere near that statistical average. So taking something just because it's broadly marketed as healthy completely ignores the complex reality of your unique internal ecosystem. So how do we actually take back control from all this? Well, this brings us to Section 4, finding your personal blueprint and how to properly manage your mansion. Here is a concrete action plan drawn straight from the source material. First, try practicing daily fasting. Just giving your gut a few solid hours of complete rest is absolutely crucial for your recovery. Second, we've got to stop blindly taking supplements just because an ad told us to. Remember, a tired, fatigued brain is highly susceptible to marketing. Third, treat broad scientific evidence as a suggestion, not some absolute truth for your specific body. Fourth, you have to test foods on yourself. And finally, number 5, listen to your body's specific feedback. Are you bloated? Are you feeling tired after a meal? Your personal physical response is honestly the only data that actually matters. What's super fascinating to me is that this new science isn't really new to human intuition at all. Look at these ancient Japanese idioms. Haragatatsu literally means anger standing up in the gut. Or dancho no omoi, which describes a heartbreak so severe it feels like it's literally tearing the intestines. I mean, wow. Long before modern science could prove this real-time gut-brain nervous system connection, ancient cultures inherently knew that our deepest emotions, our stress, and our fatigue were rooted directly in our stomachs. We have covered a lot of ground today, right? From the shocking reality of modern fatigue to the wild realization that we are mostly run by bacterial tenants, dictating our cravings and our energy. So the next time you sit down for a meal or reach for a snack when you're feeling exhausted, I want you to look at your plate and ask yourself this one final question. Are you feeding yourself, or are you just feeding your tenants? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this empowers you to take back control of your inner mansion. See you next time.